Are you feeling it, Leafs Nation? That electric hum of anticipation, that gnawing sense of it's now or never that pulses through every true blue and white heart. Because if the latest whispers from hockey world are true, your Toronto Maple Leafs are not just thinking about going all in, they're strapping on their helmets, tightening their skates, and preparing to throw every single chip onto the table. For years, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been a team of immense talent, tantalizing potential, and let's be honest, heartbreaking disappointment. But something feels different this offseason. There's a palpable urgency emanating from the front office, a clear signal that the time for patience is over. With their core superstars entering their prime and the window for a Stanley Cup closing faster than a Zamboni door, the Leafs are on a mission. And that mission, it appears, involves a bold, high-stakes pursuit of a Norris Trophy-winning defenseman and a shrewd, under-the-radar signing designed to inject vital secondary scoring. Today, we're diving deep into the audacious moves that could redefine the Maple Leafs' immediate future, exploring the Erik Karlsson trade buzz and the quiet pursuit of Jack Roslovic, two pieces of a larger, desperate gamble to finally hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. Let's start with the big one, the name that has been reverberating across the NHL for what feels like an eternity, Erik Karlsson. It's no secret that the Pittsburgh Penguins star defenseman has been the subject of relentless trade chatter. Ever since he arrived in Pittsburgh, the fit has felt at times like a square peg in a round hole, and the financial commitment a burden. But now, the whispers are turning into shouts, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have emerged as a serious suitor. As reported by RG Media's James Murphy, the Leafs are among the teams that have been actively calling about Karlsson's availability. They're not alone, with the Dallas Stars and Detroit Red Wings also reportedly checking in, but Toronto's interest carries a unique weight, given their current situation. It's also worth noting that the Leafs have been in contact with the New Jersey Devils regarding Dougie Hamilton, indicating a clear desire to add an elite offensive blue liner. So, why Erik Karlsson for the Toronto Maple Leafs? From a pure hockey standpoint, it makes an undeniable amount of sense. The Leafs, for all their offensive firepower up front, have consistently lacked that dynamic, game-breaking offensive presence from the back end. They need a defenseman who can quarterback a power play, make stretch passes, and jump into the rush with elite vision and skill. Despite the hate he's received from some corners of the Penguins and NHL community, Erik Karlsson is still, unequivocally, an elite, offensive-minded defender. His ability to generate offense from the blue line is almost unparalleled, and that's precisely what Toronto needs to unlock another level of their attack. Beyond the on-ice fit, the timing for the Leafs is critical. They are, quite simply, in a go, all-in position for the next 2 to 3 seasons. Auston Matthews, their franchise cornerstone, is due for a massive extension in 2028, and the clock is ticking on this core. Compounding this urgency is the stark reality of their prospect pool, which The Athletic recently ranked as the 28th best in the league. This isn't a team that can afford to wait for prospects to develop. Their future is now, and acquiring a talent like Karlsson is a clear declaration of that intent. It's a move for a team going for broke, a team willing to mortgage a piece of its future for a shot at immediate glory. Now, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins' perspective. Should they trade Erik Karlsson? Yes, absolutely. His contract, while not fully debilitating, is a significant cap hit for a team that needs to retool and potentially rebuild. However, the Penguins should not and cannot trade him for nothing just to move his salary. This is where the complexities of a deal with Toronto truly come into play. The Maple Leafs currently have just over $5 million in cap space, meaning the Penguins would have to retain a significant amount of Karlsson's salary unless Toronto also takes on a player the Leafs are desperate to shed. A prime example of this financial tightrope walk is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. In theory, the Leafs could offload OEL's $3.5 million cap hit, with the Penguins retaining a portion of Karlsson's salary, say $3 million, to make the numbers work. But that's not an appealing deal for Pittsburgh. Ekman-Larsson has 3 more years left on his contract, making him incredibly difficult to move off their books. This highlights the challenge for the Penguins. They want to shed salary, but not at the cost of taking on another long-term, unmovable contract. Adding to the complexity is Toronto's depleted draft capital. The Maple Leafs do not have a first-round pick until 2028, and they also lack a second-round pick in the 2026 draft. As mentioned earlier, their prospect pool is also lacking, with Easton Cowan being one of the few high-end exceptions. This means any trade for Karlsson would have to be incredibly creative, balancing the Penguins' desire for future assets with the Leafs' limited resources. So, what would a hypothetical yet plausible trade package look like? If I were Penguins GM Kyle Dubas, I might hesitate to trade Karlsson to the Leafs, given the divisional rivalry and the asset limitations. However, if the Leafs were to make this specific offer, it would warrant serious consideration. Pittsburgh Penguins receive F. Easton Cowan, 2028 first-round pick D. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Toronto Maple Leafs receive D. Erik Karlsson, 50% retained, 2026 second-round pick. Let's break this down. For the Penguins, this deal nets them a future first-round pick and a highly touted prospect in Easton Cowan, who represents a significant piece for their future. Taking on Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contract is the bitter pill, but it's a necessary evil to acquire the valuable draft capital and prospect. For the Maple Leafs, they managed to dump OEL's undesirable salary and acquire Erik Karlsson at a manageable cap hit of under $5 million with 50% retained, instantly upgrading their blue line with an elite offensive talent. They also receive a 2026 second-round pick, which they can use for future trades or to replenish their draft cupboard. The Penguins, with 3 2026 second-round picks already, can afford to give one up in this scenario. It's a high-risk, high-reward move for both sides, but one that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of both franchises. But the Leafs' aggressive pursuit of a championship isn't limited to just a blockbuster trade for Karlsson. They're also quietly working to bolster their secondary scoring, a perennial issue for a team often reliant on its top-heavy offensive stars. While their offseason has been relatively quiet in terms of major additions, a potential signing could provide a significant impact. Jack Roslovic. NHL insider James Myrtle of The Athletic recently reported on the Leafs' interest in the Carolina Hurricanes forward, describing him as an offense-focused winger who can play a little center. Roslovic, who scored 22 goals for Carolina last year, could be a good middle six option for Toronto. Myrtle believes the ball is in the Leafs' court here, suggesting Roslovic is interested in the opportunity, and more importantly, it doesn't sound like it would cost a lot in terms of dollars or term. Roslovic is projected to sign a deal in the neighborhood of $2.6 to $2.9 million, a highly manageable figure for a team looking to add depth. While Roslovic's 22 goals are appealing, Myrtle also highlighted his defensive lapses and misplays with the puck, which led to him being a healthy scratch in the playoffs. This isn't a perfect player, but he's a proven scorer who can add secondary offense. In his NHL career, he's skated in 526 games, recording 102 goals and 158 assists for 260 points. He would provide a much-needed injection of offense to the Maple Leafs' middle lines. Myrtle believes that if Toronto does sign Roslovic, he would likely fit in on the third line. Crucially, Myrtle also suggests that signing Roslovic could make some current Maple Leafs players expendable, creating further cap flexibility. He specifically mentioned the possibility of GM Brad Treliving subtracting someone like David Kampf and his $2.4 million cap hit, earmarking a big chunk of that for Roslovic. This strategic maneuver would still leave the Leafs with plenty of cap wiggle room to add a bigger difference maker to play with Matthews at some point, while simultaneously injecting more goals and playmaking on the third or fourth line. The vision is clear. Put players like Matthias Maxelli and Roslovic on the third line, and suddenly the Leafs' top nine has significantly more scoring punch, helping to replace some of the impact lost from a potential Mitch Marner departure. The Maple Leafs currently have just over $4.9 million in cap space, and general manager Brad Treliving has made it clear he's open to spending it. We would have liked to use that earlier today, Treliving said on July 1st, but if there's not the right fit to use it on, we will take the flexibility. This statement, combined with the active pursuit of Karlsson and Roslovic, paints a vivid picture of a front office determined to maximize every dollar and every asset to build a true championship contender. The Toronto Maple Leafs are not just making moves, they are making a statement. The pursuit of Erik Karlsson, with all its financial and asset complexities, is a bold, desperate gamble to acquire the elite offensive defenseman they've long coveted. The quiet, strategic interest in Jack Roslovic is a shrewd play to address their secondary scoring issues and create much-needed cap flexibility. These aren't just isolated transactions. They are interconnected pieces of a larger, urgent strategy to capitalize on their current core's prime and finally break through the playoff barrier. The stakes couldn't be higher for the Maple Leafs. This is their moment, their window, and they are pushing all their chips to the center of the table. Will these audacious moves pay off? Will Erik Karlsson be the missing piece that unlocks their championship potential? And will Jack Roslovic provide the depth scoring they desperately need? The answers to these questions will define the Toronto Maple Leaf season and perhaps their legacy. What do you think, Leafs Nation? Are these the right moves to finally bring the cup home? Is the price for Karlsson worth it, even with the assets involved? And how much impact do you think Jack Roslovic could truly have? Let us know your thoughts, your hopes, and your wildest predictions in the comments below. If this deep dive into the Leafs' high-stakes offseason has got your heart racing, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single moment of this incredible journey.